UVM may be located in Burlington, but through the research, education, and service of Extension, the university touches every part of the state. That's what the land grant mission is all about. And we're learning more about how Extension impacts the lives of Vermonters every day, today on Across the Fence. Hello, Vermont. I want to kick off today's show with a question. How much do you know about UVM Extension or about the mission of land-grant universities? We talk a lot about both here on Across the Fence, but every once in a while it's good to check your assumptions and explain yourself. So consider today's show a timely tutorial on what exactly UVM Extension does, why they do it, and how it impacts your life. Joining me for that conversation is Chris Callahan, the Interim Director of UVM Extension. Chris is also an engineer and the leader of Extension's agricultural engineering program, who has worked with food producers and processors in the Northeast on issues and innovations related to crop protection, safe handling, and energy use for more than 12 years. Chris Callahan, welcome to Across the Fence.
Thanks, Amy. It's great to be with you.
It's super nice to have you here. So can we start with the land grant mission? What does it mean, and how does it relate to Vermonters?
Yeah, what it means to me in particular, and what I try to hold up, is that we exist as a land-grant university, UVM, to ensure there's accessible, relevant, and actionable education for everybody. And so it's a pretty significant mandate and a pretty significant challenge to deliver on. But that's, in a nutshell, what the land-grant university system is all about.
I think it's kind of cool that it also originated in Vermont. I mean, this is like a homegrown project, right? So you've got Senator Justin Morrill, 1862,
Yep.
I think it is, where we've got the Morrill Act establishing the land grant unit. So you can almost say that this is baked into the DNA of the university and of Vermont?
And also, yes, and also the amount of work and the patience that was required to make it happen is also something that I think shows up in a lot of the Vermonters that I get to work with.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, it reflects the character of the state.
Yeah.
And so, and then this is also then where Extension comes in, because Extension and the mission of Extension is kind of rolls out of the land grant mission.
Right. So I think historically, you know, in the early days, it was very much about making sure that the universities were accessible by everybody, you know, and to have people come to the university. And then there was this amazing idea of this experiment of, well, how about if we found a way to have the university actually go into the community? And that's really what Extension's about. It's a bridge between the university and the community to ensure that access, that relevance, and that actionable education.
So then what does Extension do? Like, what does Extension look like? Again, we take for granted that everybody knows what Extension is, how UVM Extension operates. You know, Across the Fence is actually a product of Extension. But tell everyone at home what Extension does.
Right, so it can, I think, you know, conceptually we are, another part of the land-grant university mission is this idea of integrating research, education, and extension. So research, developing new knowledge, education, imparting that knowledge in a formal way in classrooms, such as undergraduate classes on UVM's campus. And then there's extension, right? So extension is, on the one hand, informing the research that's needed. What new knowledge is actually needed? So understanding the needs of the community. And
It's like that is it continuous assessment?
Continuing to assess and also continuing to connect and make sure that what we're studying is important and matters and is going to help improve the lives of Vermonters and others. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is then ensuring that that reaches who needs it in a way that, again, is very accessible and relevant and can be put into action.
So that research doesn't stay locked at the university.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And then, so what does it actually look like? Well, you know, the way we do our work is in 4 program areas. We work in healthy families, capable communities, sustainable food, forests and farms, and the natural environment. So those are the areas of work we work in. But what does it actually look like? People may know us as 4-H, you know, youth programming in 4-H. People may know us through some of the agronomic work we do with dairy farms, for example, through Northwest Crops and Soils or Champlain Valley Crops and Soils teams. They may know us through some of the amazing community forestry work we're doing in communities, or they might know us through Extension Master Gardeners, you know, working with. So, and I say all these examples knowing I'm leaving a lot out, and so we'll get back to that at the end of the show.
We'll get back to it. Well, as you know, President Trump was recently on the show and we were talking about UVM's new strategic plan and what it means for Vermonters. For everybody at home, here is what she had to say about Extension.
What I've told our whole leadership team is extension should be the model for the whole university. We need to think about how we reach out and serve the way extension has served.
Yeah. I mean, so that was a pretty profound endorsement of what extension does. As the leader of extension, what was your reaction? You know, how do you feel?
No pressure.
No pressure, right, exactly.
Well, first of all, I just want to say how grateful I am to have the work of my extension colleagues lifted up in that way and put forward as a model for how the university can engage with the community and vice versa. So that's number one, is appreciating the work that everybody in extension does. I think the other thing is recognizing that extension is a department of the University of the College of Ag and Life Sciences. We are also, extension is also a practice or an action. And so that can happen anywhere.
It's a noun and a verb.
Yes, and it can happen anywhere, right? So it's happening in the health network, it's happening in the College of Education, it's happening in any public, any service learning experience that undergraduate students have. So I think it's a great opportunity and an invitation from President Trump to say, what can it look like in the future? We know what it has looked like in the past. Now's the time to think about the future.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if extension is a model for the university, what do you think UVM can learn from extension, like in terms of strengths and how it impacts Vermonters' lives?
I think one of the things that's made UVM Extension particularly successful is we really have embraced this idea of being embedded in the community. We maintain offices throughout the state. Beyond that, the people who are doing the work of extension are in the community. They are members of the communities that they are generally working with and serving. We talked about how we're an integration of research, education, and extension. That research is not just researchers doing the work. That research in modern times is actually in partnership with practitioners. Yeah. So.
Yep. So the way extension, though, is talked about, it sometimes can seem separate from the university. Do you see it that way?
I definitely do not.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's. I worked for many years abroad for a company based in the United States, and there's this saying that, you know, if you're not around, you are forgotten. And so sometimes I think distance is geography is a real challenge. That said, going back to what I mentioned earlier, I think we are both an organization and an action. And so I think what we need to do is figure out how to make sure this is happening throughout the university, and I think that will help.
Yeah,
with
well,
that
because it's an ethos, right?
Yes.
And so it's like actually helping to spread that ethos throughout the university.
Yeah.
So UVM's strategic plan is also coming out at a moment where there is a lot of mistrust in general, public mistrust in institutions, including higher education. How does that impact the way that you think about Extension's relationship with the university?
One of the things that's been most remarkable to me, coming to Extension 12 years ago and learning about the land-grant university system and Extension, was the degree of public trust in Extension, regardless of everything else.
Because we're there.
We're there. We're community members. We are with everybody who is in need and who's trying to improve their lives. And so there is a fundamental trust there. We are often seen as a very objective source of information. I think I don't want to be too overly confident in that. I think we need to maintain that trust and
trust
think
is
about
earned. Continually.
think about what it looks like in the future as well.
So how does Extension figure out what to do in the community? Because like you said, this is very much, it's because of this symbiotic relationship that there is that level of trust, because these are projects that are percolating up from the community. But how does Extension figure out what work should be done?
Yeah, it's very individual and entrepreneurial at times, and also at the same time, my job is to make sure it's also connected, and there is a tapestry that is woven from all of the individual assessments of need and the work that's happening. One of the things I'm really excited about is we are initiating a Vermont assessment of assets, angles, and needs, VAN, the VAN project. And it's really a community needs assessment across Vermont, not just focused on what we do as Extension or what we should do, but really thinking about it broadly. What do the communities, plural, in Vermont need? Not just geographic communities, but communities that have other affinities, that are collecting around other themes. What's needed? And to bring other partner organizations into that conversation in a way that we all can move forward with a much better understanding of what we're doing and how it's addressing those needs.
So how does that happen then? Is it like a listening tour? Like how do you know, there's a piece in there of like finding out from the community itself where are areas where they could use help or assistance?
So typically the community needs assessments are very focused. They're focused on an issue or a specific place, right? And what we're doing is really trying to remake this idea and start a new model. And so we're doing it with two primary methods. One is we're looking at existing reports and existing even municipal minutes. And on the one hand, we have one part of the activity using a large language model to actually explore that and say what themes are emerging, how do people express their needs in these fora. And the other part is doing traditional literature review, looking at these reports and human reading the report and deriving some conclusions. That is going to feed into some listening sessions with advisory groups to help us frame this in a much better and ground truth what we've learned from these other methods.
I am an AI skeptic often, but I have to say that this actually sounds like a really good application of AI I can see where it's going to generate some great results.
It's also a great example of how extension works.
Very good. Okay, so before I let you go, what are some extension projects or programs that you think more Vermonters should know about?
So here's where I'm not going to fall for this trap. Here's where I would leave many important and great people out of the list. So what I'm going to do is ask the audience to do a Google search, right?
Okay.
Find something, think of something that you're interested in.
Yep.
Go to Google, type in what you're searching for, and add the word extension. That's the first step.
Okay.
And see what happens. And what you're going to hopefully find is there's UVM extension, but there's also extension as a national system. And I'm excited to hear from you what you find. And it might come from Clemson, it might come from Penn State, it might come from UC Davis. Shoot us an email with what you find if you find something that's interesting at extension@uvm.edu. The second part of this is add UVM extension to that search and see what you find.
Ooh, this is going to be exciting. Okay, so we just put the information up there on the screen. You now know how you can get your results back to Chris and be a part of this ongoing exploration about how does extension continue to weave itself even more deeply into the lives of Vermonters.
Thanks.
Chris, thank you so much for talking with us today. It has been a great conversation. And before I let you go, Vermont, the search is on for Vermont's Dairy Farm of the Year, presented annually by UVM Extension and the Vermont Dairy Industry Association in cooperation with the New England Green Pastures Program. Nominations are due by May 1st, so if you've got a farm in mind, you can nominate them online. Info for how to do so is right there on your screen. Or you can call 1-800-639-2130. We'll be bringing you the winner this summer. This was a lot of homework for everyone today, but as always, thank you for learning and exploring with me today, Vermont, and thanks to the team that makes Across the Fence possible. I'm Amy Finley. This is Across the Fence. Come back and let's learn and explore again tomorrow.